Hey, Mama. Hey, everybody. This is Mother Theresa, and this is Tuesday night, 7:04. I'm running just a few minutes behind, but it's Tuesday night, so that means that it's time to grandstand. And I would just like to say thank you for those that are joining me on tonight. I already see my two of my loyal followers that are typically on here almost every time that I am on. That is my sister and my mom. I know my husband and the rest of the family will probably be joining me in just a little bit. And so I just want to say hello, everybody. Hello there, Mom. Hello there, Cynthia. And from two different locations. Let me just say this. This is my mom. Oh, thank you, Sid. You like it? Okay. Yes, I got a little something done with my hair. Typically, I color it in the summer and cut it in the summer. I kind of waited a little bit later, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So, yes, thank you. Thank you. We are trying to see what it do, like people say, make it do what it do. But I wanted to say this. One of the things that I am so very grateful for those that are going to be joining in a little bit later, or if you're catching the replay, I am Mother Theresa. I like to call myself the other Mother Theresa from East Texas, namely Nacogdoches. And let me just say this. I realize that you all do not have to tune in. You all do not have to chime in and join with me on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. But I am so very appreciative of the ones that take their time to make sure that they are able to join in with me on Tuesday nights. And so I thank you all so very much. My mom is typically always on here. My sister is here, my family, my husband, my daughters, my grandchildren. They typically always tune in. So I thank you all, because you don't have to do that. You do not have to do that. But I thank you all so very much. And I appreciate the fact that you all set aside this time for us to kind of come together. Now, I was about to say, my mom is in one city. My sisters are in another city. I'm in another city. And other people that tune in, you all are tuning in from everywhere. And I'm so very thankful. I'm so very thankful that you all join in. I really am. I don't want to ever take it for granted. There's my husband. I told you all he would be joining in a little bit. I don't ever want to take it for granted that you all set aside time to tune in. And I think I saw one of my grandchildren on here earlier. I'm not sure. That did look like her face, but I am not sure. So if you're on here, one of my grands, just say, hi, Mommy, so I know that you're here. But listen, you all, again, for those that are going to be watching the replay, thank you all for joining in. Thank you all for always, taking the time to listen to the things that I'm talking about and weighing in on the comments and with your comments and everything like that. I appreciate it. I can't say that enough. I really, really appreciate it. When I started this journey, I would say when the Lord gave it to me to start this journey last year, I just kind of was like, okay, this is something that I feel like I need to do, but I wasn't quite sure of how I needed to do it or what I needed to, talk about. I kind of had an idea, but I really didn't know the plans or the layout or all of those things. And that's the thing about God, is that when you trust God to do something, He may give you an idea And that idea may not come to pass, or it may not come to fruition or manifest at that particular time. It may take years for it to manifest. But the one thing about God is that he gave me an idea. I say he put this in my heart to do, and he kind of gave me, I would say, the big picture. But the little bitty individual steps, I did not have those. I didn't know. I knew I wanted to talk about, it's called grandstanding. And so I knew I wanted to talk about, as a grandmother, I wanted to talk about my grandchildren. And of course, that is inspired by, my mom being a grandmother. And of course, my experiences with my own grandmother. And so I knew I had those experiences to talk about. And I knew I had the experiences that of the with my grandchildren and my children, and I just wanted to be able to come on and just kind of share different things that's happening in the lives of my people, and then other people as well. Give you all an opportunity to join in as well. And so I say all of this to say that, hey there, Net. Net is probably getting ready to get out the door. If not, Net, thank you so very much for joining in with me, sweetheart. I know that you're going to go back and probably catch the beginning of it, so the things that I'm talking about. But let me just tell you all, I often talk about that everybody has a story to tell. And that was made very evident on this past Friday and Saturday. I had the opportunity to attend the HAPSI conference. And in that, oh, no church for you tonight. Okay, Ned, so you're going to be with me. Good. So when I was at the HAPSI conference, and that's the Houston Area Alliance for Black School Educators. So not only was I attending the conference, but my director and myself, we had the opportunity to be a presenter. So we did our presentation, and I have to say, thank God, everything went well. I think that the people that attended our session walked away with quite a bit of knowledge about, what we were trying to share with them. And basically what we were trying to share with them is how to have a social emotional learning department on a shoestring budget. Oh, thank you, Ned. Thank you, Ned. Boris, your lights are working. Your daddy gave me some additional lighting on tonight. So I guess it's working. Ned say I look so beautiful. I'm glowing. Well, thank you, daughter. And thank you, honey. I was telling them I didn't need it, but evidently it does add a little bit of something. Okay, that's the first rabbit trail. And remember, I talk about those rabbit trails. So, but having the opportunity to present and to be at that conference, going back to Everybody Has a Story, one of the sessions that I went to, thank you, Ned. One of the sessions that I went to, it was a young lady. First of all, she had ties with Nacogdoches. I met two people with ties to Nacogdoches, and I'll share with you all a little bit about that later. But this young lady, she's a principal right now, and I'm not sure which district that she's in. But the title of her presentation had to do with winning or getting the win or something like that. But it was about winning. And basically what she did, she did it just so beautifully, is that she told her story. She told her story about how she has went from the positions that she's had in the past to the positions that she currently holds. And so she just talked about it, and she talked about it in such a way, and all of our sessions were about an hour. And she talked about it in such a way that it just kept us sitting at the edge of our seat. Hello there, Juanita. We were sitting at the edge of our seat, because what she would do is she would tell a little bit about the people that have been along the journey. and the importance that of how she met those individuals and then how they connected to like the next position that she was, trying to obtain and different things like that. But I say all of this, she took her story. She just basically took her life story and she turned it into a presentation. And so when I talk about everybody has a story to tell, you all, we really do. We have a story to tell. And guess what? People want to hear those stories because, we can watch Lifetime movies. And my husband and I watched a Lifetime movie the other night. And I think it was about disappearance from a HBCU. But a lot of times, if you look at the Lifetime movies, they are actually what they call ripped from the headlines. And so what they do is they take someone's life story, their experiences, their highs, their lows, their trials, their tribulations, their days in the valley versus their days on the mountaintop. And they share that in a format that people like you and I, we are drawn to them. We are drawn to hear people's stories. And a lot of times the stories that sometimes we can be ashamed of our stories. We can be ashamed of some of the things that have happened to us in the past and think, well, nobody wants to hear that. Or I don't want to share that because it's embarrassing. Or I feel some kind of way. I don't want people to know my business. And it's not so much as that you're sharing your business, but you are actually telling the things about the experiences that God has allowed you to go through, and then how either you triumphed in those or over those experiences or through that, all of those things. Or you're going to be honest and you're going to tell about, hey, there were some days that I was in the valley. There were some days that I didn't know how I was going to, or how my family was going to be able to make it from this day to that. Or you're going to be able to share with people and say, you know what? I went through a lot of different things. We had a lot of lean days, a lot of days that I just didn't know how we were going to make it. Only but by the grace of God have a lot of us been able to move beyond some of those things and some of those experiences. Well, let me just tell you about this. Sometimes we are in those places, we're in those valleys, we're in those situations because, and this is what I truly believe. I truly believe that every experience that we are going through, that there is a message. There is a lesson. There is something that God is trying to get our attention, and He wants us to learn something. Now, what that something is, I don't necessarily know. I can't always say that I know what it is that He wants us to learn, but it could be learning patience. It could be learning how to be more of a better servant. It could be teaching us all those different things that God tells us that we must have in the Bible. It could be teaching us to be more kind and forgiving of other people. It could be keeping us or helping us to learn how to be a better brother, a better sister, a better wife, a better husband, just a better person. It could be teaching us how we really need to represent Christ. So all of those things, and here's another thing. It could be teaching us how to be better stewards with the things that we have in our hands, okay? So all of those things and all of those experience, what a lot of times people may say are our valley experiences. I've learned something coming from or having traveled to Colorado at the beginning of last month. You can be in the valley. You can also be on those mountaintops. And let me just tell you, the view is drastically different. Your breathing is different. Now I'm going to speak for me. My breathing was different. My anxiety level was different. Now, and also the view, the things that I could see was different. So it takes those valleys and those mountaintops, both of them were equally, I would say, beautiful. It's all in the perspective and how I was looking at things. And again, it's an individual thing. But it takes the valleys. It takes the mountains. Guess what, you all? If we lived on the mountaintops all the time, if everything was always just perfect in our lives, what would we have to pray to God about? How many times will we actually go to God and consult Him and, get on our knees and read our word and cry out to Him? If everything we needed, we already had, or we were able to get to, if you had all the money in the world, if your health was perfect, if you lived in the right house, if you drove the right kind of car that you wanted, if you had the right type of job that you wanted, or if you're an entrepreneur and you had all of these things, you had the right spouse, your children were perfect, you were perfect, your family was perfect, what do you have to pray about? What do you need God for if you have all of those things? But when your money is funny and you are living from paycheck to paycheck, your kids are acting up, your spouse is acting up, you are looking to move from this neighborhood to that neighborhood, you have 10 cents in the bank, you're looking for a job, or you're afraid you're going to get laid off or fired from your job. If you have your own business but things begin to crumble, that's going to keep us on our knees. And I'm not saying all of those things we need to be experiencing, but just guess what, people? We are going to live in the valley at some point in our lives. And I say live in the valley, and I don't necessarily mean for that you're actually living there, but the amount of time that you may spend in the valley may seem like a lifetime. Now, let me just tell you, most of the time, our lives are like this. It's just like this. It's just up and down. It's just up and down. It's up and down. And so because it is like that, we have to learn, first of all, to be very grateful for the things that we have and the different states that we are going through in our lives. Because guess what? The up and down, the up and down, the up and down, it keeps us on our face before God. But not only does it keep us on our face before God, but God is giving us stories. And again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Those stories and those experiences belong to you. And nobody can tell your story like you. So as I was experiencing the conference, and I was sharing all of this, and for those that are coming in a little bit later, I was just telling about how I listened to one of the presenters just stand up and just share her story. And it was an amazing story. And it was a story, it's not like it's a Hollywood story, by some standards. It was just her story. And, and as I was thinking about it, and I was like, we all have a story. Hello there, Betty. We all have a story to tell. And when God gives us these experiences on this journey that we call life, you all, we've got to share it. He doesn't give these things or allow these things to happen in our lives for us to just keep it to ourselves. Shekinah, you've got to tell your story. You just had a birthday. And you know what? And the stories that we were able to share with you as we went around the circle the other day while we were celebrating your birthday, those are stories that then become, hello there, Sister Martha. Those are things that then become a part of your story. So when you're telling your story, you have some background. You have some things that you can't even remember, but then you can include that in your story. Sister Martha, you have a story. Everyone that is on here, listen, you all have stories to tell. And I'm going to tell you all again, don't be ashamed of your stories. Don't be ashamed of the journeys that you've been on. Don't be ashamed of the times that you spent in the valley. Don't be ashamed of that, because your very testimony, your very story, it is a testimony, but it can be a help to other people that are going through, or guess what? It can be a help to people who have made it through and they're not in that place anymore, but then they can also reflect and say, you know what? I remember a time that I was in that same situation, or I was in a similar situation, and just like God brought that person through that, He also brought me through. And so share those stories. Candace, tell your story. Tell the story about the things that you all are going through. And see, and the thing about it is, I say, when you tell your story, because can't nobody tell it like you, sometimes people think that they have a story or they have something that they are going to try to embarrass you with, and they may know a secret, or they may know something that happened to you at one of the lowest points of your life. But this is the way that you handle those people. You handle those people by sharing your own story. Because once you put it out there, once you tell it, guess what? It deflates them. They can't tell about how you used to be this and how you used to be that, because guess what? You've already shared it. Now, do I mean go out and just tell all your secrets and just, the things that are in the skeletons in your closet? Absolutely. I'm not saying that. I am saying you are in control of the narrative. So because you are in control of the narrative, share what you feel like you need to share. Okay? Keep back the things that you need to keep back. Everything that is happening in your life right now doesn't need to be shared. But there are some things that I would say, for sure, share it. Tell people about some of the things that you've been through. As I was sharing again about the young lady that was sharing her story, it was in that same class or that same session that I was able to, they had asked a question. And I shared that, my name, and I answered the question, and I said, from Nacogdoches. And when I said that, the presenter, she then said, my family is from Nacogdoches, and my family, and some of us grew up in the Redland area. And then another person that was in the audience or in the session, she said, my family is from Nacogdoches. And we just got to talking. I talked to her after, I talked to both of the ladies after the fact, and realized that, hey, there are some common people that we know from both of those ladies. And had she not been sharing her story or their story, I would not have made that connection. And one of the young ladies, so those people that are watching from Nacogdoches, and I shared some information about the young lady on Monday. Remember, if you grew up in Nacogdoches in Oak Hill Plaza or the surrounding area, there was a little store called Mr. Ben's. And so a lot of times Mom would send us down to Mr. Ben's store to buy different things. Or you can go in there and you could buy snacks. Well, again, like I said, one of the young ladies that was in that class is Mr. Ben's great-granddaughter. And so the childhood experiences, the stories that I could have shared with her about, walking through the trail, from Oak Hill Plaza to get to Power Street to go in there and purchase different things. All of that is a part of my story. So again, what I would share with you all and what I just wanted to share with you all tonight is that not only can you just share your story, but sometimes some of us have some good things that we can share with others and then bring a product. Okay, this is a little sales pitch as well. There's also, you can create a little product to go along with your story. On the back of me, of course, I'm in my office, so there's books everywhere. But right above my head, those are books that my husband and I have written. That goes along with our story. That's part of our story. That's who we are. So do the work. Go back and start thinking about, there are some things that you might could use that you can share and enlighten other people or give them a little bit of hope. Because let me tell you, don't let shame, don't let embarrassment, don't let you thinking, well, I haven't done anything that is worthy of telling. Yes, you have. You've experienced a lot of things that's worthy of telling and worthy of sharing. We are in a world that is very chaotic right now. And that's all I have to say about it. We are in a very chaotic time right now. And people are looking for things to grasp onto, to take a hold of, so they can start making a little bit of sense out of the craziness that's happening. We just came off of the heels of Hurricane Beryl just a couple of weeks ago. And you know what? That's going to change some people's, that's going to add to some people's stories, the experience that they had from that. So again, everyday life, when you wake up, if you wake up tomorrow and the next day and the next day after that and all the days to come, start thinking about the little experiences that you're going through. Start thinking about the journey that you're on right now. And I challenge each of you all, start writing those things down. Not only write those things down, but start sharing some things. Start giving a word of encouragement and give it from a testimony of something that you have experienced. Okay? You all, the thing about it is, again, can't nobody tell your story like you can tell it, and we all have one. That's the beautiful thing about it, is that we all have one. So, and you can share as much or as little as you would like. My mom is on here listening, and my mom, I was talking to her the other day, and one of the things that my mom was responsible for, and we talked about it on last week, is that my part of my mom's job when she was working for Head Start is that she had to create and plan meals and make menus for people, for the kids that were at Head Start. And she did this for a number of years. And I was talking to her the other day and I said, Mom, that is a skill that a lot of people do not have. And I said, you know what, Mom? I said, if you were to, and I asked her, could she remember how to create meal plans and different things and menus like that? And she said, you know what? I think I can. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, why don't you spend some time creating meals? And I said, in meals, menus and meal plans. And I said, and also along with that, put together the shopping list or the grocery list for that. And so Ned said, maybe that's where I got my menu planning from. Probably so, Ned, because I know for a while when I was younger, I would try to do the same thing because that's what my mom did. And so when I was telling her, I said, Mom, why don't you try doing that? And I said, people will buy that, because a lot of times people are looking for something really quick to prepare for their families, and they don't have time to meal plan. They don't have time to sit down and come up with the whole entire menu for the week. And I said, Mom, you did that just like it was like nothing.
And she did it for years. She did it for years. And I said, Mom, why don't you do a little bit of that? And let us see what we can do to kind of, maybe help you out and put it out there. I know people will buy it. I absolutely do. I know people will buy that. So guess what? That's part of my mom's story. So, that's a part of her story that she can say, this is what I do. Mama Net said, awesome idea. Go for it, Big Mama. Yes, yes, yes. And so that's part of her story. So what's part of your story? Okay. Oh, I think I have some of her menus sent. You probably do. You probably do. And she was just sharing with us. She said, I used to keep all of those menus and everything like that. So make sure you give Mom some of those menus, because I've given her a task to do. And first of all, it will help her. Everlene did the menu plans 9 months in advance. My mom would tell us, okay, you don't need that much orange juice. You don't need that much milk. You only need about 6 ounces or 8 ounces or whatever. So not only, like I said, were they good meal plans, they met USDA requirements, and they were good and healthy menus. So part of your story, part of my mom's story. So again, as I close tonight, I'm going to ask you again, what is your story? And who have you shared your story with? Okay? If you haven't shared your story, if you haven't started talking about your story and your experiences, I challenge you all to do so. Okay? And don't think that it has to be something elaborate, because it does not. Because let me just tell you, part of your story has already been written. It's already been played out. So just tell the truth of what has happened in your life. Again, you don't have to tell everything, but there are some parts of your lives, valley experiences as well as mountaintop experiences, that would be a blessing to somebody. And again, I challenge you all to tell it. That's your story. Go ahead and tell it. All right? Thank you all for joining in as we grandstand. This is Mother Thresa, and I have enjoyed you all on tonight. I hope I was able to say at least a little something to get you to thinking outside of the box, get you to think about some things that maybe you hadn't thought about, put a little bit of something on your mind, give you something to work on for next week. And when we come back together on next week, on next Tuesday, if the Lord says the same, I'm going to ask you, did you share your story? Did you tell about your experiences? And I hope the answer is yes. All right? All right, everybody. You all have a great night. And I will see you all on next time. All right, good night, everybody. And guess what? I am still writing my story. You all do the same. Be blessed, everybody.